Retro.
Are you an aspiring Jedi, or do you dabble with the dark side of the Force?
Regardless of whether you fancy yourself a defender of the light or an aspiring Sith Lord, you're going to need a lightsaber.
Podcast Stardust is pleased to partner with Saber Masters, the creators of high-quality, durable, and affordable lightsabers.
Saber Masters is preparing to launch the Ultimate Lightsaber 2.0, and right now you can get 2 for the price of 1.
So, check out the link in our show notes and go get your Ultimate Lightsabers from Saber Masters.
And don't forget to use our referral code Stardust to save $10 at checkout.
And each purchase using our referral code helps support Podcast Stardust.
Hi, this is Emily Swallow, the armorer in The Mandalorian. You're listening to Dennis and Jay on Podcast Stardust. This is the way.
Hello and welcome to Podcast Stardust. This is a fully armed and operational podcast dedicated to Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Dennis Keithley.
And I'm Jay Krebs.
And we've got yet another episode of some Phantom Menace trivia here in this episode as we work through some summer vacation time. But before we get into the questions, Jay, remind everybody where we can be found around the internet.
Sure. Yeah. Part 3. I guess this is revenge of the trivia here. We are found very easily on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Podcast Stardust.
All right. The trivia board's set up. We've all picked our little cheese slices. The dish is aligned. The sizzle boosted maximum output. The shield is down. We're now broadcasting to the galaxy. So this is part 3, which corresponds to our March episode in our series covering the Phantom Menace. So more specifically, it is 21 minutes and 34 seconds into the show, and it runs to 31 minutes and 41 seconds. And it kicks off with Nute Gunray marching Amidala and her handmaidens and some guards down the stairs. So, along those lines, what does Nute Gunray threaten Amidala with if she will not sign a treaty with the Trade Federation? This may not be the fairest one, the way I worded it, but I couldn't think of how else to do it.
Well, she's in violation of their treaty, so that would be...
They don't actually have a treaty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know this one.
The suffering of her people will cause her to change her mind.
That's right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm already not off to a good start here.
No, it's okay. But you remember, this is because we ended the last trivia and I'd asked the question about what color was the dress Amidala was wearing when Theed was invaded and it was red. And here we see the queen in the black dress with that headpiece that's got the feathers.
And this is, he says this on the stairs. I can totally see the scene. And that's when Keira Knightley is actually, she's Sabe at this point, as posing as Queen Amidala. See, I know all that. I just couldn't think of what he said. Dang it.
Yeah, well,
come on, Jay, do better.
These kind of subtle quotes can be challenging. Okay. How does Qui-Gon introduce himself to Queen Amidala and Sio Bibble after rescuing them from the battle droids?
Jedi ambassador? No. We are the ambassadors, the Republic ambassadors, the ambassadors sent by the Republic, right?
I'm going to give you the point. It is as ambassador for the Supreme Chancellor.
That's what it is. Yes, ambassadors to the Supreme Chancellor.
Right. Yeah, and this is right after Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan destroyed the droids that were marching them off to be processed, and of course Jar Jar helped. By getting tangled up in the vine as he jumped out of the window, and it's like, "Ooh, you also Bombad."
That's such a great scene. I love seeing that, and I also appreciate that scene so much more after reading the Queen's Hope novels, just because they go into that so much more in terms of like how detrimental a lot of that stuff was, and all the different labor camps and prison camps and stuff like that. So, yeah, a lot more depth.
All right. So they convince the queen that she needs to leave the planet with them. And they get to the hangar. What is the battle droid's response when Qui-Gon says he is taking the Queen to Coruscant?
That does not compute.
Yep. And the second part is you are under arrest. So good job.
Yay.
That does not compute. You are under arrest. And then, of course, Qui-Gon chops him in half.
Yes.
I love that move, though. I love when he pulls.
Yeah.
I know we talked about that, but earlier we saw him fight battle droids and then deactivate the saber as he is putting it away. And in this case, he's drawing and activating the saber as he slices that battle droid in half.
It's so good. I mean, all of the saber action in this movie was so new at the time and so different and so fresh that it just was so mesmerizing. And it still is, of course.
Indeed. How many droids attempt to fix Amidala's starship while it is running the blockade?
Is it 4?
Correct.
Yay.
Yeah. So it's R2-D2 and 3 others, of which he is the sole survivor of that one. We're losing droids fast. So question number 5. Who is the captain/pilot of Amidala's ship?
Ricole. Ricolier. However you pronounce the darn guy's name.
It's more fun your way, definitely.
It's the only reason that I remember it. Honestly.
Yeah. Rick, everything he sees, he says, Ole.
Yes, he does definitely narrate his way through everything. I remember talking about that during that segment.
All right. This is question 6. How does R2 fix Queen Amidala's ship?
He bypasses some things. He's got his little arm out there and then he fixes some of the wires and then they replace the shields. Is that enough?
That's enough. I'm going to give you the point. He bypasses the main power drive to restore power to the shields and the hyperdrive.
Because that's such an R2 thing to do.
That's what I think that's like the sole purpose of astromechs on board ships. Bypass something to fix something else. Yes, yeah. I agree.
And definitely the will of the Force that he was the one that survived. That's for sure.
Question number 7. Why doesn't Captain Panaka want to go to Tatooine?
Because it's got sand and it's rough and coarse and gets everywhere. I mean,
that's why Anakin wants to leave, but
because they're ruled by the Hutts.
Right. And you can't take Her Highness there. The Hutts are gangsters. So
yes.
True, but the Hutts aren't looking for her. So that's Qui-Gon's response.
Yes.
You're doing very well. 6 out of 7 so far.
Yay.
Okay. Question number 8. True or false? The Naboo cruiser goes to light speed once it breaks the blockade.
No, it can't because the hyperdrive is broken.
That's correct. That is false, which is weird because they broke the blockade, but why didn't they just send like droid vultures after them?
Yeah,
they just let them go once they got past that battleship. So
bye.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a short round. We only got 3 more questions left here. Who is Darth Sidious going to send to find Newt Gunray's lost ship?
His apprentice, Darth Maul.
Very good. Yes. This is getting out of hand. Now there are
two of them. That's such a great quotable quote.
Yeah. And it was a pretty cool introduction of Maul, too.
Heck
just
yeah.
Popping up there over his shoulder and
that hologram.
Yeah, I mean, Sidious is creepy looking, but Maul is terrifying looking in that moment there.
Yes. It's almost like, crashing into somebody's selfie in a way. But he was just like, and here I am.
Well, and how much do you think Maul had to be just like simmering there, like just out of range of the holo projector?
Yeah.
And and then he struts in and poses there with his arms folded across his chest.
Right. Yeah. And as we get later, like we know how much he wanted to do all of this stuff. And that's where, and maybe I shouldn't say it, but his quote comes in a little later. I don't know what your questions are, so I'll wait.
Oh, we're not going to do it. So don't worry about that. We only got 2 left. So. Okay, this one I think is a gimme. This is not too hard. Who does the Queen send to clean up R2-D2?
Padme.
Very good.
Padme, clean up this droid as best as you can.
He deserves our thanks.
Yes, which I always thought was kind of an interesting sort of a thing, like a move to do, which I know as we've gotten to know Padme, we know that she's very much into working with her hands and doing the same thing that anyone else would do, that she would ask of them. But yeah, it was kind of a...
Well, we kind of talked about this back in March, but I think the bigger reason for sending Padme to do it was that, she doesn't go right away. They wait till they finish their conversation. They have the discussion where Qui-Gon is proposing that they go to Tatooine, and Panaka says, I disagree with the Jedi on this. And they sort all of that out. And then Padme leaves to clean up R2-D2, presumably leaving Panaka and the decoy queen and the other handmaidens in whatever chamber of the ship that they're in. But this puts Padme out amongst everybody else. And so now she knows what's going on, and firsthand. She doesn't have to rely on any of her handmaidens to bring that information to her. So it is kind of a clever way of putting her there in the midst of everything that's going on. And so, there's not really so much in the way of distrust between Padme and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and them like that, but there is some question as to what's going on and being aware, or needing to be aware of everything that's happening. And this way she's not going to get any news that comes to her from Naboo. It's not getting filtered by the Jedi for whatever purpose they might have, because she doesn't really know them yet. I mean, they've exchanged a handful of sentences up into this point.
Right. That's so true. Yep.
Okay. Last question. And I'm not sure how I ended up with only 11, but here we are. Why does the Queen command that Qui-Gon take her handmaiden with him to the settlement on Tatooine? More precisely, what is the reason Panaka gave that the Queen commands Qui-Gon to take the handmaiden with him?
She's curious about the people.
Curious about the planet, but close enough.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yay.
That's it. You did nail this one. 10 out of 11, which turns into about 91%.
I am improving with every one. Look at me go. These are fun. Thank you for putting these together.
Oh, you're welcome. I knew you would like it, and I had fun doing it. Like I said, it got inspired. Like I said on a previous episode of Trivia, it got inspired simply because, like, when the crawl came up, and I was reading it, and it referred to the Congress of the Republic, not the Senate. And it's the only place I could think of where it was called the Congress. Every other mention of the Senate is the Senate.
I am the Senate.
And so that was just kind of a, and I was trying to think of a way to ask you and Alan about it back in the time. And then I was like, well, I'm going to make some trivia of this. And I was like, well, I'm not really going to have time for trivia during the thing. But we did talk about it during that episode. But then I knew this vacation time was coming up. And so it might be fun to have some trivia in the back pocket to do some episodes with. So there we go. Okay. Well, I've got more. So we'll going to put the trivia aside for now, but be looking for some more in the months to come as we'll have some opportunities where we have to fill in some episodes in advance. And this will be a fun way to do it.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, with that, thank you for joining us for this round of the Phantom Menace trivia here on Podcast Stardust. We'd love to hear how you did on those 11 questions. So in a minute, Jay will give you all of our social media contacts, and please reach out to us. Tell us your scores and how you did, what you thought of the questions. If you've got any other fun trivia questions from those from that segment, share them with us, and we'll take a stab at answering those too. But again, if you've enjoyed the episode, then I invite you to subscribe to Podcast Stardust, and you can get all of our upcoming episodes. We've got just another one or two before we get back into some more timely programming with our coverage of the Acolyte. And if you're subscribed, well, then you'll get those episodes automatically. I'd like to remind you can find all episodes of the show over on retrozap.com. It's got the entire catalog of, well, at this point, we're about 740 episodes. So we cover a little bit of everything over the years. And while you're there, you can check out all the other great podcasts that are on the network, which cover everything from the MCU and DC to Dune, Star Trek, collecting, video games, and a whole lot more. As always, we greatly appreciate your 5-star ratings, reviews on your podcatcher of choice, especially if that's Apple Podcasts. And please don't forget to share the show and your favorite episodes on social media with your friends. That's a great way of spreading word about our little podcast here. So with those things having been said, Jay, remind everybody where we can be found on social media.
You got it. We are very easily found on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Podcast Stardust. And you can give us a look over on our Pinterest boards as well. We've got a bunch of fun things over there. And if you have other outlets that you like to listen to, like YouTube Music, YouTube itself, or even Spotify, we are found on all three of those. And you can head over to those, like, subscribe, and share the show out. And you can also leave reviews over there as well. And we really would appreciate that. And if you'd like to join us on our Discord room where you can talk to us in real time and we can do some quizzing back and forth that way too, we have a link in our show notes that will take you right to our Discord room on the RetroZap Discord server. And we also have a link to our TeePublic store, which is a place where you can get all kinds of apparel and home goods, tote bags, mugs, sweatshirts, tank tops for the summertime, all kinds of fun things. You know what I'd really like to have is an umbrella, like a Podcast Stardust umbrella. I could probably actually make one on my Cricut. I don't know why I thought of that, but at any rate, there you have it. So the link is in our show notes for that, as well as the link to our Saber Masters referral. And so if you are in need of a new lightsaber, that is the place to go. They have some really great quality, battle ready, battle quality lightsabers. And if you do happen to pick up anything, make sure you put the code Stardust in at checkout, and that will get you an extra $10 off. And it will also help to support the show. So with that, Dennis, why don't you let everybody know where else they can find you around the podcasting world?
Right. So I am talking Star Trek with my wife, Beth, over on Warp Trails, which is exclusive to the RetroZap podcast feed. And it is a seasonal show. So that means we are basically covering Star Trek when there is new episodes of Star Trek to cover. And so we've recently just wrapped up, or will have just wrapped up, our discussion of season 5, which is the final season of Star Trek Discovery. And we are getting ready for the 5th and final season of Lower Decks, which we're very, very excited for. Hate to see it go, but excited to talk about it. And we'll be a little bit hiatus in between the two. So again, you can find that over on retrozap.com. Jay, where can everybody find you and what you're up to?
Very easy to find me on Instagram. I'm at j.snipscosplay. So if you are interested in Ahsoka, Hera from either the Rebel series or from the Ahsoka series, or the Fourth Sister, or my original concept Mandalorian in cosplay, you can check that out. And I'm also doing a lot of interaction with other cosplayers as well. So I'm constantly adding things to my story and just, things that I appreciate, and other cosplayers that are working hard and doing their thing to go out there and spread the love of different Star Wars characters. So once again, that is at j.snipscosplay.
Okay. Normally at this time of the show, I tell you what's coming up next, but it's not clear at this point. Again, since we're recording this about a month in advance of when it's actually going to come out. But in the very near future, we'll be getting into our coverage of the Acolyte. Of course, we'll be doing news. Well, those episodes will be on Monday now that we have the Acolyte to discuss. And then we've got our other general discussion topics that come up. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and you can get all of those as they are released. So with all that, thanks for listening to this episode of Podcast Stardust. Thanks for indulging us for a shorter episode than usual. And until next time, may the force be